Hey guys, your friendly neighborhood doc here on Wednesday. Just wanted to let you know that I went by the comic shop and picked up my books this week. So let's talk about what I picked up. You guys in the comments below, let me know what you're picking up. What is exciting you about this week? Are there any titles that didn't come out that you thought were coming out? I thought Saga 70 was coming this week, and I also thought Wolverine Revenge issue 3 was supposed to come this week, but I didn't see either of them at the shop. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into this, and we'll start with Amazing Spider-Man 60. This is the end of the Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. run. And to be honest, although I saw greatness in Romita's artwork, which some may find laughable, but I did see that he tried, and I got to thinking about this as I was reading this book, and it might not be that Romita Jr. is that bad of an artist for the ones that are naysaying him. It could be that Zeb Wells is that bad of a writer that he didn't fully utilize Romita Jr.'s storytelling ability. Because yes, when you look at these pages, they're much more simplified, but occasionally you'll see what it used to be like 20 years ago, 30 years ago when you followed Romita Jr. on that Spider-Man title with Howard Mackey. Sometimes you'll get these crazy faces that looks, kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, but at the same time, you see the greatness and the storytelling that comes through in Romita Jr.'s ability as an artist. So that I can't knock, but there was one main tale here, and it's Aunt May trying to remind Spider-Man how much Spider-Man has cost Peter. And that's a story that hasn't really been touched on too much as far as just hitting it right between the eyes. It's not really ever been talked about how much Peter has lost in his own life. He just kind of glosses over it. He's like, I'm going to give up this thing, or I'm going to give up Mary Jane, or I'm going to give up, for Aunt May. So there is a sacrifice story to be told, but it doesn't have that punch that it needs to have. And I don't know if it's just because I'm predisposed to thinking that Zeb's writing is not what this title needs, or if the series, the setting of this particular issue is just not strong enough to carry that story and that lesson. But it just didn't resonate the way that it should. And then you end on a sunset right there in New York City. And that's the end of that main story. Then you have the return of Wreck Rap with Ed McGuinness. Then you move on to a team-up story with Todd Nauck as the artist. And that's Jackpot and Spidey going up against the Dichromatron, which that's a terrible name. That's bad. And then Peter and MJ are set up on a double date, one with Paul and one with Shay. And again, it just doesn't, I don't know. The fact that Zeb has kept Peter and Mary Jane separated this whole time doesn't ring true here. It doesn't ring true about, we're still so close, but we're just that far apart. It's a tired trope, and I'm tired of it. The next story was Wolverine and Spidey, who apparently meet up every year on Wolverine's birthday, because they met up one time when Wolverine was feeling very down and thought about ending himself. And so now they make it a yearly thing, and they just meet up once a year. There is this nice John Cassaday memorial on these two pages. But then we move on to, I think, the next to last story in here, and it's by Patrick Gleason on artwork, and it's talking about Chasm. So Ben and Peter sit around and drink coffee and talk a whole lot, and it's just not exciting. And at the end of it, it tries to punch it and say, I lied to Peter 3 times. And the third one was I wished him well, and, I don't. And so I'm going to get a chance to take it all back. And the last story here is by Mark Buckingham, which I really love Buckingham's art on this. But we get to see Override again, who we haven't seen since the 1990s. And it leads into Doctor Doom and what Doctor Doom's got going on next. but it does not resonate. So I hate to say it, but this issue just ended on a blah. It did not have the punch. It did not have the resonance. It did not have the power that most of these really big, expensive issues carry with Amazing Spider-Man. ASM 500, ASM 600. It just didn't have that resonance on it. So here's to hopefully Joe Kelly doing a better job in the next 8 to 10 issues, and then we'll see who the new writer on the title is going to be. All right. Next up, we have Peach Momoko doing Ultimate XMen. She is still on the art and the writing as of issue 8, so you got to give her credit for that. We're still building this mystery of, you've got a blogger who goes and goes to the school where all of the murders and suicides have happened, and so she's sitting there trying to, what happened but to these kids? What happened to, was there a mystic force behind all of this? And so you're dealing with that, and then Armor is out here in the wilderness, and she gets approached by this girl. So I see where Peach Momoko is going with this, and I really thought this was a refreshing title when I first saw it on the shelves with issue 1. I've got to say that if it doesn't really go anywhere by issue 12, I'm probably going to drop it, but it's still a really interesting take on the X-Men. So far, it's all females, which that's not anything different. It's not anything that in and of itself makes it not a good read. It's just a different take on the X-Men. A lot of people have been waiting for suits and villains and Magneto to show up, and that's not what this story is. So I'm just enjoying it as it is, but really, if it doesn't pick up by issue 12, I'm probably going to move on from it. All right, next up we have Spawn, and Jason Wynn is hunting Spawn. This book is by Roy McConville, Brett Booth, and inks by Corona. And we still have Heaven's Agents and Hell's Agents fighting it out, even though the dead zones prevent a lot of them from having the powers that they did before. Lyra is laid up here, and they're draining her blood to try to create a virus that Jason Wynn wants to use to take out both the Hellspawn and the Angels. So you've got this really great piece here by Brett Booth. Brett Booth is an amazing artist. He hasn't lost his touch. It's a little bit scratchier than it was in the 1990s, but as far as the level of detail and the level of excitement, and again, like Romita Jr., the storytelling that you're getting in this issue, you cannot beat that. So I'm in it for the long haul to see as Spawn breaks her out of captivity. I'm in it for the long haul to see exactly what is going on with the war between heaven and hell and the dead zones. All right, here on Nice House by the Sea, issue 4, with the return of DC Vertigo, by the way. Then we have James Tynion and Alvaro Martinez Bueno and Jordi Belair doing what they do. It's really an excellent series. The artwork on it pops. It reminds me a lot of Steve McNiven with the colors, and when Steve was doing with Frank Darmada on Captain America. The colors tell just as much of the story as the artwork does. But here we're seeing a different house, and we're seeing that there is more than one house, and they're trying to figure out, okay, so if Max and Walter, who were the two alien creatures that brought them to these two respective houses, how many more houses are there? And are we going to actually have to fight each other, excuse me, in order to get somewhere, in order to figure out who's going to survive and who's not going to survive? Or is Walter and Max and whoever else is in charge, are they all going to come together as sort of a council and say, well, this is the house that we need to save. These are the people that need to continue life amongst the, what's left of humanity. You've got this here that's trying to explain where Max and Walter met and their backstory. And it says, now that's the story without any alien stuff in it. So that's the main gist of it, to try to catch you up, because this is a very dense title. It's a very dense storyline. It's a lot to soak in each and every month. But I think when we get to the end of it, I think that it's going to be worth it, just like Nice House by the Lake was. So I might have to go back and sit down and reread all 12 issues when it's all said and done. But I'm definitely in it for the long haul, as long as they don't have any breaks. If they take a quote-unquote season break after issue 6 and it's gone for 6 months, I may not come back. No matter how good the story is, I may not come back because I'm not in it for seasons. I'm in it for month after month after month. And if you can't write each book that you're writing every month, then finish the one story that you're telling before you start another one. That sounds a little bit harsh, but at the same time, I'm not 20 years old anymore, and I can't keep up with what's going on if you go and give it a 6-month break in between. All right, next to last book we have is Ferell, issue 7. This is telling the story of Elsie and Gigi and their little baby kittens, and they're still trying to escape from these crazy rats that are rabid. And then you've got creatures outside. This artwork is just absolutely gorgeous and amazing, and they're trying to escape from these creatures and trying to live. And here, Elsie was gone, and the 3 kittens could have gotten hurt, and Gigi says, you have to do better. You have to do better about watching them. You can't leave them like that. And she said, I understand, and I'm not upset with you. I'm just disappointed. So this story, even though it looks like it's illustrated for children, has a much bigger punch to it than you would think, an emotional punch. And here they are getting caught in a trap. But is this trap going to lead them to something better or something worse? You've got to read this issue and then continue reading the title to figure out exactly what's going on. All right, guys, and the last title that I picked up today was Batman The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 2, by Jeff Loeb and Klaus Janson with Dave Stewart. And here we see Solomon Grundy about to get tossed into the river, literally. Whether he'll be seen again or not, we're not sure. But this Klaus Janson artwork is absolutely amazing. He hasn't lost a step. When he pencils and inks his own stuff, it actually seems to be more put together and stronger than if he inks somebody else. So it's good to see Klaus getting a chance to do part of this story that immortalizes Tim Sale, even though he's passed on. And all the players are moving into their positions. You've got Catwoman, who was shot with a 2022 bullet. You've got Batman finding her under Arkham Asylum. She's trying to, figure out who shot her. You've got James Gordon still looking for his son, who has been kidnapped. And then they find a clue for the Penguin. But as the Penguin is running away, and he gets attacked. So, like I said, there's a whole lot of moving pieces to this story, but so far Jeff Loeb has crafted just as strong of a tale as any of the Long Halloween books have been, and I can't wait for issue 3 to come out. This is really, really great stuff, and if you hadn't checked it out, go back and look on Amazon or look on Comixology and see if you can find the original miniseries and then the sequel, which was called Dark Victory, and then get caught up on this, because I don't think that it will disappoint at all. All right, guys. So that was my week this week, what I picked up, what I read. What did you guys get excited about in the shop? Did you read Absolute Wonder Woman issue 1 last week? I didn't check it out. I thought about checking it out a couple of days afterwards just for the Jim Lee cover, and surprise, surprise, it was sold out. So might have to go to eBay and see if I can pick up a copy, still for cover price, or I might just wait until the second printing comes out and go from there. But anyway, guys, thanks for checking this out. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, check the box, and let's keep growing this channel, and come back if you like this content, because I got a lot more coming for you. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, and we'll catch you in the next video.